Phase 6 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is officially underway. Except you'll be forgiven for not even realizing that transition, given how all over the place the prior two phases of its so-called multiverse saga have been. But with the promise of 2 new Avengers movies on the horizon, the time is nigh, I say, for all that chaos to finally coalesce into something meaningful. So does the Fantastic Four first steps signal that nexus point, or is the multiverse saga well past salvaging? Hi guys, Michael Abayomi here, and today I'm reviewing the Fantastic Four first steps. Set in a parallel universe, the film centers upon the titular Fantastic Four, the primary protectors of Earth 828, whose members include the Thing, Human Torch, Invisible Woman, and Mr. Fantastic himself. It's been 4 years since they were first exposed to the cosmic radiation that imbued them with their abilities, and they have since grown to attain celebrity status for their heroic deeds. But when the Silver Surfer arrives on their Earth with news of his impending doom at the hands of Galactus, the first family will have to find a way to save all of humanity, or watch everything and everyone they love get devoured. As the MCU steamrolls its way towards the next big Avengers team-up, it is clear that the days of an intricately plotted, overarching narrative spanning several movies are well behind us. Nowhere is that more evident than in its latest entry, because of all the movies we've gotten in the franchise recently, the Fantastic Four First Steps feels like the most self-contained. This itself is not an inherently bad thing, as it allows newcomers to jump in without the fear of needing to do some catching up first, while the rest of us can look forward to how it eventually ties into what came before. But when we are this late in the cinematic universe building game, it feels somewhat odd to be introducing new characters and teams rather than fleshing out existing ones, especially considering all the dangling plot threads that are yet to be addressed. In any case, the first family aren't exactly newcomers to the comic book movie scene, so after 4 prior attempts to adapt the Fantastic Four into live action, I am pleased to say that this latest one is easily the best one yet. I know the bar for quality within the series isn't particularly high, but bear with me here. The first thing that sets this adaptation apart from the others is its retro-futuristic aesthetic. Matt Shakman proves once again that he can handle period-specific settings, like the one he brought to life in WandaVision. I love the 1960s inspired look of the film, with the various sets and costumes going a long way to sell that vision. This extends to the visual effects seen throughout the movie, as it makes use of a wide array of practical effects, which further help ground its action scenes in reality. I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention the rousing score by Michael Giacchino. The music in the film slowly grew on me as the movie progressed, twisting and morphing to fit the tone and mood of the on-screen action when needed. But what I loved about the movie the most was the Fantastic Four themselves. There was definitely a lot of great chemistry between the cast members. I really enjoyed the playful banter between Johnny and Ben, and even though I had some reservations about Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, especially since we had just had John Krasinski in the role, he ultimately won me over with his performance. Each member of the team also gets to showcase their abilities in the movie's various action set pieces, especially Sue, who one might argue was the actual lead. And depending on who you ask, that could either be considered a pro or a con. Speaking of cons, the biggest one I had walking out of the movie has to do with its connection to the wider MCU. Because aside from a post-credit scene that promises the return of the Fantastic Four in Avengers Doomsday, the movie doesn't offer much in the way of connective tissue to that film or its follow-up, Avengers Secret Wars. Even worse, it doesn't shed light on the end credit scene from Thunderbolts either, despite both stingers being directed by the directors of those forthcoming Avengers films, the Russo brothers. This tells me that the script for the film was finalized well before the pivot away from Kang's dynasty, and that these recent post-credit scenes were basically tacked on to their respective movies after the fact, without any real consideration for anything that came before them, and the most tenuous of connections with what is to come next. This is a shame and particularly frustrating for anyone who has been following along with the hope that the scattered events of the last 2 phases will receive any kind of payoff. As such, we are still none the wiser about Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom, nor do we know how he is going to fit into the overall narrative. Yes, I realize these questions will likely get answered during Avengers Doomsday, but it still feels rather odd to have little in the way of a proper primer heading into that film. By this same point in Phase 3, we had already been introduced to Thanos and given a taste of the threats he posed, but right now, there's barely enough to get us excited for Doomsday and Secret Wars, the way we were all excited heading into Avengers Infinity War, beyond the prospect of seeing RDJ back in the MCU. The Fantastic Four First Steps is another step in the right direction, but where it stumbles is in its inability or downright unwillingness to pave the way for Avengers Doomsday. The little tease we got here felt superficial at best, and somewhat predictable and ultimately inconsequential at worst. I guess time would tell just how much it is going to factor into the events of that film. Taken as a standalone though, the movie offers the kind of joyous wonder the superhero genre is known for, and that the MCU definitely needs more of. I'll give the film an 8 out of 10. What did you think of the Fantastic Four First Steps? Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed watching this review, and to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on if you'd like to see more reviews like this in the future. And until the next one, this is Michael signing off.